family. My name is Vicki Dillard for African Diaspora in this channel. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be sure to give us a big thumbs up, and share the broadcast. That way other folks will know that we're here, that we say thank you so very much, family. Now, I always say this, and if you've been following me for years on multiple platforms, different networks, you know that Vicki Dillard is no type of sports expert or deep fan like that. I hit and miss when it comes down to certain things that I watch, on accident for a little bit. And that's just not my thing. And I don't hate on those that do. But to the degree that I do cover different elements of sports, it's because, number one, my people dominated in many cases. We bring it magic, money, and everything else. And because everything is everything. Which means that there is no sphere of influence, there's no sphere of people activity that does not substantively interact with others. And we know it doesn't matter if it's sports, if it's arts and entertainment, if it's science, right? If it's mathematics, if it's technology, if it's engineering. It does not matter what the topic is or what it has to do with. It could be the government, it could be the military, it could be politics, it could be geopolitics. It does not matter. White supremacy and anti-blackness always seems to find its way in it, which is why I covered. Yes, because everything is everything. So watch this. I want you to listen to this audio clip. Of course, there's lots and tons of coverage on mainstream outlets, legacy outlets. The whole wide world is literally talking about this dear brother named Shedeur Sanders, who is the son of legendary, now head coach in Colorado, but also legendary athlete himself, Deion Sanders. And for those of you that may or may not know, Deion Sanders talked stuff and was able to back it up like every single time. And so then when he took it off the court as a legendary athlete himself, he also became a very legendary coach. He worked for a black college at one time, and then he switched up. That caused a bit of a brouhaha with foundational Black Americans in the United States. But nevertheless, they tried to humble his dad. And of course, he has children, and one of his sons, he has another son, I believe, also that was also drafted recently in the NFL. But the one that has made the most headlines most recently because of what was obvious to many of us and believed to be by many of us to be collusion and disrespect. His son, Shedeur Sanders. Yes, it was a big mess. So this has been covered on major platforms, social media platforms, alternative media platforms. One of those alternative media platforms, I was going through social media, and this one was a quick clip. It was audio, and it got right to the point. So I wanted to use this particular one from King Cam, this clip. Watch this.
Very good on the field. And two, they didn't like the way he was carrying himself to the point that he didn't even go in the first 2 days of the draft, the prank call on top of it. I mean, this was as brutal as it got for Shedeur and his family on the biggest stage of all.
Yeah, I mean, you and I were not surprised that he was falling because we knew about him falling a couple weeks earlier, and we were talking about Tyler Shuck, if you remember, and how he was rising up the board.
Yeah.
Now, Tyler Shuck basically was the second quarterback drafted. Actually, third quarterback drafted after Jackson Dart and Cam Ward. But, Shedeur Sanders just torpedoed himself. His attitude off the field, all those bad meetings that he had at the combine. His dad didn't help him either. He was on podcast talking about, this is my son. If I can get him to where I want to get him to, I'm going to do that. And trying to, in somehow, way, shape, or form, comparing it to the Manning family, by the way, which is insane. But, when you listen to this kid talk right prior or at the combine about if you want a new culture in your locker room, I'm the guy to do that. I can turn it around. I mean, he's very high on himself. And I think he was very off-putting to many, many coaches and general managers in the league. And I'm telling you right now, and I know this after talking to 3 different personnel people in the NFL this weekend, they didn't even have him on their board. They took him off, and they took him off because the owner said, take him off. I don't want that guy. I don't want this kind of person in our entitled person on our team. And I don't blame him. I mean, when you listen to the way that he was talking about himself, some of the actions that you have seen on the field in terms of his interaction with other players, shoving a referee in the back, building his own draft room, legendary, having all this crap hanging off. I mean, like, this is a basically wake-up call to, I think, a lot of these athletes.
Okay, family, I want you to listen. Did you listen closely to the language that this white quarterback, former quarterback, I should say, because that's who we were listening to in there. In fact, the former pro quarterback here, Boomer, it said, Boomer, I don't even know how to pronounce his name. Is it Eason? I'll spell it Esiason. You can look him up. That's one of the voices that you heard there, right? And how many of y'all know all these sports podcasters? You know, it's really popular here in the United States, baby. On TV, off TV, online, wherever. These men of all cultures, they love their little sports and stuff. Watch this. The language that how white folks talk, like white people, when they talk like normal, some of y'all, you don't know that talk is uncivilized talk. Like it's so common and so natural. Like when Joe Biden came out, after he secured the presidency, he was waiting a couple of months in order to take the oath of office a few years ago. I'm bringing him up because this makes a point. And he publicly said to some of y'all so-called black leaders on the Zoom call that America is doomed, not only because of black folks, but because white folks in America are getting ready to be the minority come 2040. That's wild to us. What's wrong with that? If y'all's numbers are low and America is doomed, you said it's doomed because of black people in part is what that first statement clearly implied and meant. Because you were saying America is doomed for a couple of reasons. Black folks being the first part because we're the most heavily melanated, which seems to be the threat to the Caucasians here. And secondly, because white folks getting ready to be the minority in America, you said, that's what Joe Biden said in 2040. They were nervous because our most recent, demographics came out to show that, yes, white folks in America, y'all's numbers are declining just like you thought, but faster. Talk black to me. So they was nervous, yes? But some of y'all don't realize it when you say stuff like this, when y'all heard this conversation just a minute ago, notice he said his attitude, talking about changing the culture in the locker room. Did you hear what else he said? He's entitled. Did you hear him at the end try to say he's wearing all that crap? If you search his history of his dad, when his dad was drafted, he had a lot of gold on, a lot of jewelry, unashamedly. And I was looking at one of the clips because I told you I don't really follow sports, but I do my due diligence when I'm covering topics. And I was looking at this old video of this white lady that had the privilege and the honor of interviewing his dad many years ago when he was drafted, Deion Sanders. So the white lady, of course, she was enamored by all the melanin and the masculinity and the testosterone. So, of course, Becky was just, of course you would be, Becky, of course, because our men like that. It's just amazing. But she said, looks like you're wearing your, something to the effect of like wearing your money, whatever you call it, when they give the brothers they little advance or whatever. She said, look like you wearing it. How you know he's wearing that? Weirdo. And see, black folks, we got to get out of this too, because if some of us wear jewelry or you think that we're flashy, some of y'all call it gaudy or embellishing. No, we just energetic, silly. We're spiritual people. We're animated people. What we look like trying to be basic and boring and blending in, looking like you. I'm glad the flowers don't act like that. I'm glad creation doesn't act like that. I'm glad big mountain ranges don't say, well, I should be like that mole over there. I'm glad that the ocean doesn't say, I need to lower myself to be like the lake. I'm glad that roses and lilies and begonias have their own unique beauty and glory. I'm not even going to get into the fact of the metal, the magic in metal and stones. And this is something that our ancestors all over the diaspora understood and knew. We're more than what meets the eye. Why wouldn't we? Why would we just go around being regular like you with your regular, boring, unmagical self? Why do I need to lower myself so you can reach that? Just be you with your boring, basic self over in the corner. Don't nobody care about you being that. Why are you worried about me? I can do the most. And what gets y'all is that he was able to back it up and go beyond. The magic always was magic-y. That's why you're mad. And I want to encourage you, what we look like telling our babies, humble yourself and not say you great. That's outrageous. We don't have an overabundance of people that have enough confidence in themselves to do enough divine magical inventions, and moving society forward because you are at the top of your game. Some of y'all feel some kind of way. You think somebody's being arrogant because you're projecting your own little insecurities. You want somebody to tone it down for what is what I'm asking you. What we need to tone stuff down for? Why do I need to tone down anything for you? I know, for example, my style is not everybody, so you should click and move on to somebody else's style that's you. You see how that works? You see how that's a spirit that's in you and on you that wants somebody to lower themselves? How many of you all know that's an attitude? An attitude is something that's spiritual. They don't want him to have a spiritual power about him because that's a part of our magic. So as long as you think less of yourself, lower yourself, they know that that would affect you. How many of y'all know that when you see boxers, one of the reasons why they do a lot of outrageous things to the other person, say a lot of outrageous things, is because they want to mess with your mind before you get in the ring because they know that will have an effect on your efficacy inside the ring. As long as you ain't trying to steal from me and disrespect me and get in my way, what do I care about what you think about yourself? If the thinking that you thinking has to do with you stealing from me, talking back to me, copying me, disrespecting me, working against me. Y'all hear me today? That's when I have a problem with the stuff that you thinking. Is if it adversely affects me. You understand? If you bragging about something you stole from me or you copied from me or something you trying to prevent me from being and becoming, that's the only time I should be worried about something like that. We got to watch that, Black family. That attitude, especially when you start to agree with it. When they think that you're too uppity and they want to quote unquote humble you, that is diabolical. You're meant to shine. You shining does its own work and advancement for the planet. You shining and you being all that you're meant to be unconsciously, as I read in one of the poems somewhere or some essay, gives other people permission to do the same. My name is Vicki Dillard, beloved. I can't wait to hear what you have to say about it. Be sure to stay tapped in. I have an upcoming special webinar. One of our webinars is going to be paid. The other is free. You want to tap into which one that is. We're going to be exposing more elements of the neo powers that shouldn't be, of the deep state and beyond. Baby, you ain't gonna want to miss this. We're going to be talking about the unseen interdimensional war that the powers that shouldn't be are making, and you don't even know what's going on. My name is Vicki Dillard, beloved. Go to my website so that you can learn more about it and register at VickiPlanet.com. That's VICKI planet.com. Of course, share the broadcast